Hello boys and girls, what's going on? Today we have another fresh off the lot, right off the assembly line, freshly strewn together with manly crafting hands video for you. Today in this video we are going to be looking at cars that make really nice noises for our listening pleasure. In a way, I guess you could say that they're in some sort of order. If there was a bar graph of the goodness of these sounds these cars make, it would probably be on one axis would be how wide my mouth is open, how wide open my mouth is, if I can even remember how to speak English. And on the other axis, it would be closer to number one on the list. So with all that ado aside, let's get into the first one, and that's gonna be the Volkswagen Golf R32. Now the reason why I had to start off with this one at number 10 is because, to be quite honest, some people maybe wouldn't agree with me, and to be fair, all the cars on any of these lists people might not agree with, but again, this is my own subjective opinion. So starting us off, we have the VW Golf R32. Now the R32 has a VR6, which is, if you can imagine a V6, just imagine it's sort of like out of line. Like it's not really a perfect 3 rows of 2 kind of thing. It's more like 2 rows of 3. That makes sense in my head. Yeah, that makes sense. And instead of pointing away from each other, they sort of just point, I mean, they do still point away from each other, but instead of pointing like 60 degrees away from each other, they point really, really close to each other, and they're sort of like interwoven. Have you ever seen the guys in Mad Max make the V8 symbol with their hands? Just lop off 2 of their fingers, and that's literally what a V6 looks like in the R32. Some key characteristics of the R32's sound is that it sounds kind of like Chewbacca, which again is why some people don't really like it, but it's a really unique 6-cylinder sound, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this is coming from a guy who drives a V6 like on the daily with an exhaust, and a company that makes probably one of the best induction noises. V6s, they sound pretty good, they sound okay, but you know, they could sound better. Me putting this on the list as actually the only 6-cylinder, and I guess you could say it's the smallest engine, should be some sort of testament to the R32. It's unique, it's punchy, it's not like super annoying, I guess, to listen to. Maybe if you're in the car yourself and you're driving it down the highway and you're just going like steady cruising at like 2,500 RPM with a full catback exhaust, and you know, you gotta listen to the drone for like 2.5 hours. Maybe it might get a little bit annoying, but when you're just chilling on the street, you know, when you're just taking a walk, going to the shops, as the Brits say, and you hear one of these things just rip down the road, it's pretty cool. I'll always turn my head and look at it and probably do one of those Obama, like, nice kind of faces, you know? Alright, so next one on the list, number 9, is the Ford GT40 Mark II. This was the car that destroyed Ferrari. Not only did they beat them, they destroyed them for like 4 years straight, I think it was.
Is that it?
Blonsky, pull back now. Pull back.
Is that all you got?
There was a movie to commemorate that whole ordeal, which I can't even say the words properly because I loved it so much. I love that movie. I like the fact that like a racing sort of heritage movie, like a historical drama sort of about cars, like got such a big budget, and the people working on that movie were able to pull it off in such a fantastic way, I gotta say. Anyway, back to the Ford GT. Yeah, so this was the car that raced at Le Mans. Now, I tried to keep this list strictly to cars that are road legal and that you could theoretically buy off the market if you had enough money. Now, I'm not sure if this car is road legal. I'm pretty sure it isn't. If it is, I'm gonna have a thing pop up on the screen saying that it is, but my money is on that it isn't. So, what do I like about this? Well, first of all, it's a race car, and any race car, no matter how small or big, sounds pretty good. If not good, interesting, you know, like it has a unique sort of wail to it, or just has some sort of like violence to it. And I think the Ford GT Mark II from the mid to late 60s was definitely all of those. It sounded good, it sounded interesting, it sounded violent as heck. It was an American V8, 7 liters. I mean, come on, this thing, you take one good listen to this and you wonder why they ever decided, even though it is technically better to put a turbo V6 in the new Ford GT. I'm not one of those guys that's going to sit here and roast Ford for doing something that I couldn't even imagine to start doing myself just because it's a V6 or whatever. I mean, obviously the car itself is absolutely incredible, but it'll never, ever have that amazing, breathtaking sound of the original GT40 Mark II. Okay, number 8. We're gonna move on to we're gonna move on to something that's not actually specifically in just one car. We're gonna move on to the Mercedes 6.2 liter V8, cars like the C63 AMG and the SLS. It's been a while since I've heard one of these 63 AMGs in person, or even like in videos and stuff, so I forgot how good it sounded until I recently watched a review of the old C63. They have one of the most violent, like brutal sounds to it. Like it's just like aggression in an engine. If you could put the term aggression into an engine, this is what I would imagine it sounds like. I don't even know if that makes sense, but that's what I'm gonna go with. Merc 6.2 V8, highly recommend. I think it's kind of underrated, especially when it's in the SLS. I don't know, it's incredible. Like it's violent, it's sharp, it hurts your ears sometimes probably. One of the greatest naturally aspirated V8s of our time, I gotta say. And it also helps that the older AMGs had actual exhaust pipes connected to the tips that were actually square. So that's already a leg up on like most cars. I mean, to be honest, I think the old AMG exhausts are probably some of the most unique and coolest exhausts. Like squares, guys, come on. Rhombuses? Rhombus? Plural? I don't know. 6.2 V8, highly recommend. It sounds amazing. Number 7, we're gonna move on to something a little more unique, the M5 E60, preferably wagon. Now, I'm a huge fan of V10s, actually. That's my favorite form of engine. Second favorite being haHAhA, which is a 5-cylinder. But V10s are pretty rare. If you ask me to make a list of all the V10 cars I know, there's only a few I can name before I have to start making up names. However, the M5 E60 is probably one of the more interesting ones because this was the only V10 that they made. I like to call this car the car of fives. It's an M5, right? It's a 5-liter engine. It's got over 500 horsepower, 507 to be exact. It has 2 inline 5s put together to make a V10. That's sort of stretching it, but you know what I mean. And it's got 5 wheels, 4 in the corners and 1 in front of the driver's seat. I don't know, I'm just kind of stretching it now, but you know what I mean. This thing is amazing. It's super rare. I don't think I've ever seen one in real life, and if I have and I missed it, I'm gonna have to go see a therapist about that because I don't think I could ever let that go. But I think as far as the M5 E60 Touring, which is the wagon version, goes, I think this is probably one of the most unique, if for nothing else because it has a V10 in the front. I'm not sure how many family cars that you can claim have a V10 just chilling in the front waiting for all the 507 horsepowers to be tapped into. I rate this very high. Rear-wheel drive station wagon with a V10. That hits like 3 of the 4 check boxes to become my favorite car. So yeah, M5 E60, brilliant. Okay, number 6, moving on. We're gonna get into some big boy names and some big boy engines. Getting us into that group is the Pagani Zonda LM. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I could have chosen any Zonda for this list. Like, they're all just brilliant. They're all wonderful. They're all absolutely gorgeous. And just like the title of this video says, I can never get tired of listening to them. But I had to choose specifically just because this is the one I found a lot of videos on. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, hey, Zonda R, that's like the completely unrestricted, like most crazy version of the Zonda. So why didn't you put that in? Well, to be honest, I would have put that in, but I already put one car that's not road legal. I broke the rules once, and you know what they say? On a top 10 list, you can only break the rules once. So definitely gonna stick to that rule, and I'm just gonna go half a step down, not even like a toe crawl of a step down to the Zonda LM, which is, again, Absolutely brilliant piece of Italian engineering. The V12 it just screams, sounds harmonious, sounds melodious. Other words that end in ius, I just can't get enough of it. If anything, I would like to drive one, but if that never happens, I'd be fully glad to just sit down somewhere and just listen to a Zonda LM just drive laps around me on any circuit in the world. Please make that happen, somebody. What are you doing? Can't be here, Brownie. Hold on. Sorry, guys. My cat just came into the room. Brownie, you can't be here. Come here, come here, come here. Oh, Brownie, what does that smell? Oh, you just ate, didn't you? Oh, yeah, your food smells gross.